Welcome to another Southern California Prep Insider Football Podcast. Tommy and Shotgun here, bringing you the top 10s, some game picks. We've got Jessica, Connor, and Beverly out and about around the town. Shotgun, how you feeling this week?
Hanging in there. You know, you're always looking forward to the next week's games. We had a couple good ones this past week, but always the next slate is the most fun to look at.
Yes, the most important game is next week's game, of course. Shotgun, really quickly, what's your top 10? And tell us a little bit about the teams.
You know, I'm going to start with Calabasas. They stay at number 10. You know, they beat Westlake 20-14. Good game there. They were down 2 scores. Second straight week they had a scoreless first half, but they find a way to put it together in the second half. They had just 99 yards in the first half. Jaden Casey got sacked 5 times. They found a way. The big key for them was holding Jason Heller, Westlake's dynamic wide receiver, to 3 catches and 31 yards. And, you know, he had an opportunity for a game-tying 22-yard touchdown catch as time expired. Instead, they broke up that pass and take away the victory. So Calabasas stays at number 10. Big win from them. Another big game coming up for them this week as well. We'll talk about that one later. Number 9, I got Orange Lutheran. A week after they lost a game on missing a game-winning field goal attempt, this week they win the game, kicking the game-winning field goal attempt. Logan Loya comes through with the game-winning kick after having 12 catches, 138 yards, and a touchdown. JoJo Hawkins also had a big game for them. Ryan Holinsky, 31 of 46, 358 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 through the air, 1 on the ground. And they lost Kyle Ford, their dynamic wide receiver, probably the best wide receiver in the country, if not, you know, that we've seen in the last couple of years. You know, he's really, really good. Lost him to a torn ACL last week. Safety, running back, Reggie Strong, also out with a neck injury. So we'll see how they can, handle those injuries. They found a way to get past Santa Margarita. We'll see if they can continue to do that as they play some tougher opponents, starting with this week's game at St. John Bosco, which we'll also talk about a little bit later. Number 8, I got Cajon. They beat Redlands East Valley 48-38. You know, Lorenzo McMillan, one of the top sprinters in the state in track, he becomes eligible after sitting out 5 games for transfer rules. 4 catches, 3 touchdowns. Once he gets in the open field, nobody's catching that guy. He had 130 yards. Jaden Daniels threw for 358 yards, 4 touchdowns. He ran for another 3 touchdowns, including a late 50-yarder to kind of seal the game. You know, that kid is just dynamic and electric, and 7 touchdowns this week. He continues to get it done. Number 7, I got Corona Del Mar. They beat Edison 21-14. Their Sunset League debut, first ever game in the Sunset League. And it's believed to be their first win over Edison in nearly 50 years. Crazy there, but they get it done. John Humphreys, their dynamic 2020 junior wide receiver, had 2 TD catches in the first half. He had a 51-yarder called back as well, but he had a tackle for a 35-yard loss that ended up being the last defensive play. They forced a punt. They were able to run the clock out after getting a couple of first downs there. Number 6, I got Serra. They lost to St. John Bosco, but love the way those kids fought. Tommy, you saw them there. You know, they had an opportunity to seal to get the ball back and potentially, drive it down for a game time score. Instead, they had a illegal substitution penalty after they thought they'd forced a 3 and out, kind of changed the thing, let Bosco run the clock out. But they gave it their all.
It was a great game. Bosco, early on, it seemed like they were going to be in control of it, but they could never really get the pedal on the metal. Serra did a great job against DJ for Bosco. They held him, I think, to under 50% passing, which is pretty incredible, with an interception as well. They did a great job on him. But at the end of the day, I think the running attack for Bosco was just too much. They were too physical up front. And again, hat off to Serra because they played that game about as well as they could have. They had a block punt in there that helped. I mean, they were they played about as good as a game as they possibly could. But I mean, Bosco's arguably the best team in the country, so it's tough. And on the road, also tough. But hats off to Serra. They played a great game.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave them at number 6, even though they lost. At number 5, I got Oast Christian. They had a bye last week. They probably needed that break. They were running to the end zone all night, going against putting up 83 points against Bakersfield Christian last week. They'll play Newberry Park this week, though, to open Marmont League play. So they get off to an opportunity to kind of stamp their place in the league. They're going to try to take that league title. How about number 4, Mission Viejo? They continue to win. They beat El Toro 70-0. Huge game this week. They play 6-0 Capistrano Valley. Nathan Manning, the quarterback who is committed to Cal for baseball, is dynamic, player. He's going to have to go against Akili Arnold and JoJo Forrest and Jamari Farrell and those guys as well. JoJo Forrest, he had 2 interceptions last week. So what does he do this week? How about 4 TD catches on the other side of the ball, doing it on both sides? Joey Yellen was, he threw 13 of 19. He was 393 yards and 5 touchdowns. Mission Viejo puts it on El Toro in that game. St. John Bosco, I'm leaving them at number 3. They had a chance to move up. I thought a good win over Jay Serra might tell me something, but, I'm going to leave them at number 3 because, not too convincing to get the 7-point win, but they found a way to get the win. That's the important part. George Halani, 25 carries, 160 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground, another touchdown through the air. He gave him the lead in the third quarter. He broke 2 tackles and then stiff-armed a guy to give a 43-yard touchdown to give him a little bit of cushion late, and that proved to be enough for them. At number 2, Centennial. Corona Centennial is still 6-0. They beat Santiago 59-6. The schedule gets a little bit easier even as the season progresses, and they're beating teams 59-6. So anything easier than that's going to be pretty light for them. Their defense held Santiago to 7 first downs, 109 yards. They scored on 7 of their 8 first-half possessions. Octavio Cortez, he only had 8 carries, but 4 of those were rushing touchdowns, all in the first half. So they beat up on that one. And then in modern day, they stay at number 1. They beat Serra by 35-0. That's their 4th shutout in 6 games. We talked about Blaze McKibben last week, and maybe he could give modern day a little bit of a game. No, they held him to 70 yards passing. Elias Ricks returned an interception for 77 yards. So they actually had more return yards than they gave up through the air. They also blocked a punt. Bryce Young was really good again, 17 of 21, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, had 1 on the ground as well. Jacoby Harper, your guy, the guy you really like, 8 rushes, 96 yards. And then Braden Huffman-Dixon, they get him back after transfer. They get him after transfer rules. He had to sit out. He gets his first game. He has a 2-yard touchdown catch as well. So just add another weapon to that dynamic offense. That's my top 10. Tommy, what about you guys?
Yeah, I'll go through it really quickly. 10 Upland, 9 Calabasas, 8 Bishop Amat, 7 Orange Lutheran. Pretty similar from here on out. 6 is J. Serra, 5 is Mission Viejo, 5 Oaks Christian, 3 Centennial, Bosco 2, and Mater Dei is number 1. So shotgun. We'll do it like we normally do it. You start your game, or players of the week, game balls, whatever you want to call it, and then when you get winded, I will chime in with mine, and then we'll go back to you.
A lot of the game balls went to the top 10 teams, but I found some more guys. How about Mike Carrillo, Garden Grove? This might be my favorite one of the year so far. 34 carries, 232 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. That's impressive. That's good. That's a really good day. Well, he adds a 65-yard touchdown and reception to go along with 12 tackles and an interception on the defensive side. Come on. Give that kid the game ball every week. He's doing it all for him. But it wasn't enough. Garden Grove loses that game to Western because about Western. The passing attack of Anthony Munoz, he throws for 452 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Savage brothers, Kane and Cassius Savage. Kane Savage was the big target this game. 19 catches, Tommy Morris. 19 catches. That's almost as many as you had in your career.
Yeah, that's almost a season for some people.
19 catches, 242 yards, 3 touchdowns, including the game winner with 9 seconds left in the 35-31 win. That is a game he will remember for the rest of his life, and everyone that was there watching him will be remembering that one as well. Terrific game there. Isaiah Blevins from Pacifica, 11 carries, 147 yards, and 3 TDs in a win. Lucas Scott from Paloma Valley had 96-yard pick 6 in their win. Troy stopped their defense stopped a 2-point conversion by Sonora with 39 seconds left to win them that game. Talking about defenses, Huntington Beach, 5 sacks, 3 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. I mean, if you can get 5 turnovers and 5 sacks, you're gonna win pretty much every game.
You're gonna strike oil, would you say, for Huntington Beach?
Oh, nice! I like it. Yeah,
that was a cheap one. That was a cheap one. Sorry. Go for it.
Nothing cheap about Cade McConnell. 9 of 10, pretty efficient night. 189 yards, 4 touchdowns. Tesoros, Schaefer catching the ball on the outside, 9 catches, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. La Habra gets a 47-3 win. Ryan Zanelli threw 5 touchdowns in that. 3 of them went to Clark Phillips, the two-way guy. 7 catches, 188 yards for him. Miller Moss from Bishop Alamany. What a performance here. 447 yards, 3 touchdowns. Really good day. 385 of that came in the first half of their 34-8 win over Loyola. And the most impressive part to me, he spread the ball out. He had 3 different receivers. Jay-Sean Todd, Alonzo Fortinet, and Kevin Green Jr. all had 100 yards receiving in the first half. That's impressive. Really like that. Something else impressive. How about Segerstrom kicker Natalie Castro? Not only kicked for her team, but she was also named the homecoming queen during halftime. You gotta love that.
Hell of a day.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick some extra points and I'm gonna get the crown. I do it all. Jonathan Haley at Village Christian, 81 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. He also took a pick back to the house, so 3 touchdowns on the day for him. Tommy, give me some of yours.
Here's the break for you here, Shotgun. Break Sergio from Moore Park, 14 of 18, 412 yards and 6 touchdowns. A heck of an efficient day there. Love this. Jaden Ott from Norco. He's just a freshman, and he ran for 173 yards and 4 touchdowns. Mission Viejo, the whole defense, 7 sacks against El Toro. Congrats. Also, shout out El Toro for being really good at baseball because I feel like every single team in the postseason has an El Toro player on it pretty much. Next, Jackson Reyes from West Ranch. Great game for him. 5 carries, 124 yards and 3 touchdowns. About as good as you can do there. That is a very efficient night. We talked about Kyle Ford going down. Josiah Hawkins from Orange Lutheran, 156 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. So good job stepping his game up. Levi Eckhouse, 246 yards and 4 touchdown passes for him. And all the way up at Alta Valley, Donovan Ferguson, 136 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Shotgun, continue.
Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame's offensive line. How about this, Tommy? You don't see this very often in high school. Had a 9-minute, 55-second drive. They went 90 yards, 18 score on you. You're just like, Coach, what happened to the rest of the half? I don't even know here. Tremendous effort from their offensive line. I think they had a couple of 100-yard rushers in that game as well. Another guy we talked about before, Zaquan Irby, your favorite guy from Ganesha, 24 carries, 260 yards, 3 TDs. And then he also did on the defensive side. So he's definitely one of your favorites, Tommy, because he's a two-way guy. 9 tackles and a sack, though they did take the loss in that one. How about Xavier Ford from Glendora? Glendora was down. They had a 17-point comeback, and he finished with 285 yards and 3 touchdowns in that one. Paloma Valley's running back duo Mason Carvalho and Darius Dortch, 382 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns combined. Hank Bachmeyer from Marietta Valley, another favorite of the program, 20 of 33, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns in the win. And his favorite target was Jordan Murray, 9 catches, 151 yards, and a touchdown. But he also recovered a fumble on the defensive side, so got to love those guys doing it both ways. Julian Valencia from Long Beach Wilson, 7 tackles, 2 sacks. He caused 2 fumbles, and the defense held Long Beach Jordan to 57 yards in their win. How about Glenn beating Norwalk for the first time in 16 years? Tommy, I feel like you were in diapers 16 years ago. I mean, that's how long ago it was. You might still be in diapers. I'm not
still
sure.
in diapers.
They won 48-7, led by Edwin Udingwa, 15 carries, 161 yards. Anthony Seo from Compton had 2 interceptions in the end zone. He kept his team in it. They still took the loss, unfortunately, but he ended 2 drives with picks to keep them out of the end zone from adding some extra points. B.J. Harris from Bellflower, 122 yards rushing, 140 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns and a 61-7 win. And how about Darius Wallace? Love this. Kid from Paramount. He had 2 TD catches in his first game back after it was believed he had a heart issue earlier in the year. He had shortness of breath. And when they played St. John Bosco, he had a 96-yard kick return that was called back for a penalty. He was, having some heart issues there. Had it checked out. It's been a process. Gets back on the field. 2 touchdowns in his first game. Love to see the kids bounce back and be able to come back out and play hard.
There we go. There's our top performers. We've got to get to our field reporters now. We're going to start out. With Beverly Pham, who's at Fountain Valley.
Thanks, Tommy. Happy October. We're officially in league play. Just a quick update. San Clemente defeated rival Lucero 24-14. Triton quarterback Brendan Costello had some big plays, including his own 52-yard touchdown run to solidify San Clemente's win. I spoke to him after the game, and he said he was running for his life on that play. You can watch the full interview plus highlights and more on our Twitter and Instagram. Mater Dei shutout rivals Serra 35-0 in their 4th shutout game of the season. Bosco defeated Serra 35-28 in the game of the week, and Orange Lutheran defeated Santa Margarita 39-37. Today I'm here at Fountain Valley High School, my alma mater, and I'm super excited to welcome Baron football to our show for the first time. The Barons had their best start to the season since 2009. Let's take a look. I'm here with Coach Nolan of Fountain Valley. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You played at Mater Dei, but you grew up right here in Fountain Valley. How does it feel to coach in your hometown?
It's awesome. I grew up wanting to be a Baron. Nothing wrong with Mater Dei. I had a good time there, but it's good to be back in my old community. And it's neat because the culture these days is kids don't want to go where they grew up. So I'm proud to be at a school that's composed of kids from our backyard.
This is your sixth head coaching position. How would you describe your coaching style, and what would you say you bring to a football program?
Usually I'm known as a fixer. I try to take a job that's a underdog job. So the places I've been, we've always been the underdog. I enjoy that because I was the underdog. I wasn't a big guy, and so I always had to kind of outwork my opponent. Out energy, if that's a word. Just the way I prepare, and the passion I bring to the sport. So my style is teaching these kids what I learned on how to overachieve, and if you prepare the right way, anything's possible.
What is your favorite thing about coaching here at Fountain Valley?
I enjoy the boys. I feel like they're all my sons. The camaraderie here is pretty special. In this day and age, 2018, there's a lot of selfish student athletes. They're all about themselves and statistics, and they all want to play for the best team. And I appreciate this school because these kids, they're all about each other and the community. So it's neat to see that because that's becoming extinct, and especially in high school football.
The Barons had a tough loss to Los Al last week. What does the team need to improve on going into Corona Del Mar this week?
We just gotta realize football is a physical sport, and no one expects anything from us right now. So I'm hoping that these kids can rally and just play for each other and play for their last name. They got to have some pride. Los Al's a great team, so I don't know if we could beat them, but I think we can play a lot better than we did. So it's a good life lesson. I hope these guys can rebound and do something violent. We'll see what happens.
Thank you so much, Coach, and we wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Coming up this week, we have Mater Dei versus Santa Margarita. Olu is at Bosco, and Serra is playing Servite. Back to you.
Thank you, Beverly. Now let's head it on over to Connor.
Thank you, Tommy. I'm here at Lawndale High, where the Cardinals are off to a 4-2 start so far this season. On Friday, Lawndale will host Culver City in a massive Ocean League game. That one will be televised on Fox Sports West. It's the game of the week. Earlier at practice, I caught up with quarterback Jalen Daniels, and he said the fact that this game is on TV, it has him pumped.
I'm actually very excited. It's one of the many opportunities that Lawndale actually gets, and I'm just blessed, and I hope that me and my team are able to put together teamwork and just cooperate and play in the game correctly.
I know last week you guys had a huge win to start the league season. What went right for you in that game, and how were you able to be so successful?
It was me and my teammates, actually. The teamwork, actually, it's just a wonderful opportunity to play with my teammates, man. Honestly, this team, we've been through a lot this whole entire season, getting ready for this upcoming season, for the rest of the season, actually, and we're just ready, man. We was ready. That's all I can say.
Through 6 games, you're 4-2. You started league play, as I mentioned, on a high with a big win. How would you assess where you're at midway through the season?
I feel like we could have done better this year. It's just mostly we just was out of the game. We started off slow. We started off slow in our games. If we would have started off with the correct tempo like we did in the second half, I feel like the season could have been way better than it was already.
Right now in the Division 5 poll, you guys are right in the middle. What's it going to take for you to get to that number 1 spot and win a CIF?
Like I said, all it is teamwork. All we need to do is get this bond together and just make this team, man, just make this team work.
As a quarterback, how nice is it to be able to hand the ball off to Jordan Wilmore?
It's actually a blessing. I'm going to miss him next year after he graduates. Yeah.
Coming over from Narbonne, you actually played Narbonne earlier this season, rushed for 2 touchdowns. What was that experience like for you to play against a team you used to be on and to do so well, scoring 2 touchdowns?
It was exciting that I got to play against my former team, but scoring, it was just a blessing.
Starting quarterback at Lawndale, first year, I'm sure there were some adjustments that came with that. How would you say you've adjusted? It looks like you guys are doing pretty well.
Lawndale is a way faster tempo than it was at Narbonne. At Narbonne, we ran a spread offense, and actually here we run a pro-style offense, so I had to get acclimated to the new entire offense and learning the playbook and everything.
How would you describe your game? What do you think you do well, and who do you model your game after?
I feel like I'm good at getting out of the pocket if I see a lot of pressure. I model my game after Lamar Jackson. He's just a little faster than me. But yeah, that's who I model myself after.
Final question for you, Jalen. You haven't been here at Lawndale for too long, but you've had 6 games under your belt. What's one of your best memories so far from this season?
my best memory is scoring against my former school. Honestly, yeah.
All right, that's Jalen Daniels. Watch out for him in Lawndale against Culver City Friday on Fox Sports West. A huge game. That's going to be so exciting. Really happy for you guys. Thank you, Jalen.
Thank you.
So there's the update from Lawndale. Let's move on now to the game ball segment, where I highlight some of the top players from the past week in the northern part of the southern section. Last Friday, I was at Chaminade, where Bishop Amat walked away with a 28-27 Mission League victory. And I want to shout out 2 players from that Bishop Amat squad. First, Blake Archuleta, the quarterback over there for Amat. He was 23 of 32 for 225 passing yards and a couple of passing scores as well. He played mistake-free football, as I tweeted on Friday night. I was really impressed with him, so he gets the first game ball. And then his teammate, running back Kenny Collins, carried the ball 20 times for 111 yards and also scored 2 touchdowns. Those guys were a 1-2 punch all night. And at the end of the day, Bishop Amat just made a few more plays than Chaminade and walked away with a win. Those guys were big reasons why. My other game ball goes to Donovan Ferguson, the running back at Apple Valley, way up north. 12 carries, 136 yards, and 4 touchdowns in a 61-7 win over Burroughs. So Donovan Ferguson, you get a game ball as well. Apple Valley is officially on my radar. They're representing in Division 5. Finally, my pick. Both of these teams have been very good to me so far this football season, but I have Calabasas over Sierra Canyon in a battle of 2 of the hottest teams in Los Angeles. That's a game that is filled with a lot of star power. I'm excited to check it out. I think I'm going to be there. Give me Calabasas over Sierra Canyon. Tommy, back to you.
All right, thank you, Connor. Last but definitely not least, we're going to go to St. John Bosco with Jessica Lucero.
Thanks, Tommy. Yeah, I finally made it to St. John Bosco. I know I've been telling you guys that I was going to make it because I've got all these connections here. You know, my uncles all graduated from here. My dad graduated from here. My brother went here, ended up going somewhere else. I've got a bunch of family members that went here, have graduated from here, blah, blah, blah. Basically, the biggest female legacy that there ever was here at St. John Bosco. But, you know, unfortunately, men only. So hang on, give me a sec. Excuse me, come over here. I bet this kid is even somehow related to me. What's your name?
Joshua Lucero.
Joshua Lucero. Did you hear that, you guys? Joshua Lucero. Yep. Okay. No, this is actually my cousin. This is one of my props that I planted right over there. He actually plays baseball here. But anyways, thank you so much for your time, Joshua. It was nice meeting you. But guys, I actually got to speak with Coach Negro, the head coach here at St. John Bosco. It was an interesting week to come in here, you know, after coming off of a 35-28 win against Serra. Not exactly what the fans here were expecting. They were sort of expecting just another St. John Bosco blowout, but they have to remember that this is the Trinity League, and every player, every team out here is going to be a tough competitor, and most of these games are going to be pretty close from now on. So that's really what Coach Negro and I talked about. Let's take a look and see what he had to say. We're officially in league play. Last week, you guys went ahead and played Serra. You got the win, 35-28. But we're having some mixed signals. Fans are saying very mixed things. What do you think of your team's performance last week?
Well, I think our fan base is pretty spoiled, you know, unless we come out and just, you know, dominate people and blow them all out and have running clocks, it's not a successful night. And I think that's kind of a disrespect to the opponents. You know, the people that we play in our league are really talented, and Serra is super well coached. They got a lot of really talented players over there, and we're going to get everybody's best effort, and we know that. And anytime that you don't play your best game, which I don't think we played a great game, you have an opportunity to lose in this league. And, you know, we need to keep things in perspective and understand that, you know, it's a bigger picture, and we need to know that it's a process, and going through this league is not going to be easy. It's going to be a step-by-step approach, and we got to look at every week ahead of ourselves and not try to look too far into the future. So, you know, we need to be patient. We need to understand that it's a process, and our kids did a great job. We finally had a little bit of adversity, and we were able to overcome it. So I was super pleased with the performance, to be honest with you.
You guys went out there and you finally had a tough competitor that was willing to go out there and, you know, give their all just as much as you were. What do you tell them after a game like that to keep them really motivated?
Well, I think one of the philosophies that I have as a coach is I'm typically harder on our guys after wins than losses. So, I made sure that they understood that, we left a lot of points on the board and we didn't play really well, especially, some areas of special teams, and defensively we kind of, lost some focus here and there. So we have to be better. We had a couple turnovers that really hurt us early in the game and gave them an opportunity. And anytime you give a team the thought and the belief that they can win early, they're going to continue to play harder as the game goes on, and it's harder and harder to put them away. So those are some of the things that we focused on. And I didn't think our pregame approach was very good. Going into the game, the day of game day, we need to change our mentality and change our focus a little bit in and around the locker room and team meal mass. We need to fix those things because it all starts there. And then once you get onto the field, it's got to be 100% focus on the task at hand, and we weren't completely focused.
Now, heading into this season, obviously everyone already knew about DJ, everyone knew about Chris Steele, but who would you say have been some players that have really been standing out to you?
I think our defensive line has done a great job. They've played really, really well. We've played a lot of guys at those positions, Suave Poti and Kobe Pepe, Cole Aubrey, Matthew Jordan, Vito Lagaleo. All those guys have played amazing for us. The backer core has played extremely well as well. So I'm happy for them. I thought Jude Wolf has kind of blown up this year. He's had an amazing start to the season. Kobe Bowman, Chris Hudson. Our backs have done a really good job as well, Savage and Halani. So we're getting a collective effort from a lot of really talented players, and they understand that each and every week it's going to be somebody else that might go off and have a big game, and they just need to understand that we got to get to the next game. Even though you didn't maybe have the touches or didn't have the success that you had in this game, it might be your game the next game. So we need to keep things in perspective and continue to work hard, and at some point we're going to have to count on a lot of our guys.
They're all willing to go out there and work just as hard as the next guy behind them. Now, as I mentioned, you are an alum here, you played here. How proud are you to not only have been a Brave, but now be leading these Braves?
It's pretty great. I would never play on this team. I wasn't talented enough, but the kids that we have here now in our program has really, transformed the school in so many different ways. We are such at an elite level right now, and we have so much talent that surrounds this program that I'm just really happy that I had something to do about building this thing and having, kind of a little bit of a fingerprint on it. So down the road, 20, 30 years when I come back, hopefully I'm alive, to see, who the next guy is taking over for me, they're going to draw upon those past teams, and they're going to say, remember the Bosco team from 13, or remember the team from 16 or 17, and things like that. So I'm just really proud of that. I'm super happy with what we've been able to accomplish, and I think we've done it the right way. We've built it from the bottom. We're really good on all three levels, and we've been that way for the 9 years that I've been here. And, there's not a whole lot of, things that surround our program that are on the negative side of things, and that's something else that makes me really proud.
Now, speaking of that 13-14 team, how great was it to see Josh Rosen go out there and make you guys proud?
It was pretty neat. I was texting him before the game, and I didn't want to bug him too much, so there was really a quick conversation back and forth. And then after the game, I sent him a message because I thought he played really well. And I only think the sky's the limit for him. And to have a Bosco guy and knowing him and the way that I do, and spending the time that we did for the 4.5 years, as an 8th grader as well, that he spent with us, it's just really satisfying to say that hopefully you had some sort of influence on that young man's life, and he's going to be able to draw upon it at some point during his career and look back and say, man, I remember these things and some of the lessons that I learned from Coach Negro and the rest of the staff that we had here at Bosco, and he's really making us proud, so we're really happy about that.
And it all started here. Now, what can we expect from you guys this week as you go on to play Olu?
Hopefully a more focused approach. I think that if we come out the way we have practiced so far these first couple of days, that we're going to be in a really good position to play well. I know they're suffering from some injuries, but they've had some guys step up, and at this juncture of the season, we all have injuries. We all have guys that have to step up, and guys that are interchangeable and things like that. So we have to make sure that we make some adjustments based on their new personnel, and hopefully we're going to come out and play a little bit, more sound, execute a little bit better offensively, and we'll make some tackles on defense, because latter part of the game last week, we were deficient in that area. So I think we're going to be a little bit more focused, and I think we'll play a little bit better.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right, Jessica, thanks.
Now, as Coach Negro said, they didn't do their best last week against Serra. It was their first league game of the season, and they went out there and didn't really compete as well as everyone was expecting them to. It was 35-28, but once again, people need to remember that Serra was top 15 in the nation prior to that week. They were top 10 in California prior to that week. So it's not like they're just a random no-name. They are in the Trinity League, and the Trinity League is the #1 league in the nation. Now, a game ball that I would like to give out that is from St. John Bosco is George Halani. Now, he is one of the running backs here, and he went out there and he got 4 touchdowns in their game against Serra. He was, the main reason that they even walked away with a win, and he's celebrating with a commitment to Boise State. So he's very excited about that. He will actually be joining Hank Bachmeyer, who is the quarterback from Murrieta Valley. He said that they played together when they were younger, so he's excited to be joined once again. Another game ball I would like to give out is, again, another running back, Octavio Cortez from Corona Centennial. He went out there and he also got 4 touchdowns. How weird is that? But their game was a little different, a little bit of a blowout against Santiago, which is apparently what they do every single year. Now, a game that I'm looking forward to this upcoming week is going to be that Santiago-Norco game, a little bit of a closer matchup compared to the Centennial and Santiago matchup that was this past week. So that'll be a good one to watch. Norco's definitely going to walk away with a win, but that will be a little bit of a closer game. I'm looking forward to it. That's all for me. Back to you guys.
All right, Shotgun. Perfect segue into our game picks, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, because we're going to start with Orange Lutheran at Bosco. The Trinity League, there's no easy games, and this is another one. Orange Lutheran coming off an emotional win. You're getting a winning on the field goal at the buzzer, and now you get to go face Bosco. And Bosco's coming off a tough win over Serra, and there's no let up because now you got Ryan Helinski coming into your house, and Ryan Helinski can throw it on anybody's defense. So now how is it going to match up? Bosco has some good DBs. We talked about that last week with Serra. It's unfortunate that we don't get to see the Chris Steele versus Kyle Ford matchup on the outside. That would be a great one. It's always fun to watch in 7-on-7. 2 are the best. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that, but Orange Lutheran still has weapons. You have Logan Loya, who we talked about. You had JoJo Hawkins stepping up. You had the 2 tight ends, Elijah Maharo and Ethan Ray there. But I just think that Bosco is going to have a little bit too much firepower for him to slow down. The way they got their running game going last week is a really good sign for Bosco. They've been throwing the ball a little bit more this year, but getting George Halani going. He commits to Boise State this week, so congratulations to Halani on getting that commitment as well to go along with a 4 TD performance. So I'm going to take Bosco in this one.
Here's what scares me about this one for Bosco. You know who they're playing next week, obviously. Modern Day.
Is there some team that has a Triton on their helmets or something?
The Wings, yes, the Modern Day Wings. They got Modern Day next week. This is a this could be a look-ahead game. It's at home. It's against, again, Orange Lutheran is a very good team. They're not going to have Kyle Ford. It would not shock me if the Lancers come away with the win. It would not shock me. I'm just saying.
So who are you picking?
Screw it. I'll go for it 2 weeks in a row. I'll go with Orange Lutheran. Next, we've got Serra traveling.
Bosco loves you, Tom. Bosco loves you.
Oh, no, they don't. Next, we have Serra going to Bishop Amat.
Gardena Serra, coming off a 38-7 loss last week to Sherman Oaks Notre Dame. They were the ones that suffered through that almost 10-minute drive. They lost for the first time against Sherman Oaks Notre Dame since 2011. Their coach, Scott Altenberg, has coached up a ton of great athletes at that school. He said in 20 years at Serra, this was one of our worst games from start to finish. Do they bounce back this week? They're going against a Bishop Amat team. I think this Bishop Amat team is playing really well going forward. After their quote-unquote win over Modern Day.
Modern Day. Congratulations.
Yeah. They've been playing really well. I think that they've improved each week as well. They're coming off a 1-point win over Chaminade. Third-year starting quarterback Blake Archuleta, super efficient in that one, 23-29, 202 yards. Was really, really efficient in the first half, actually. I think it was 14-16. And senior running back Kenny Collins, 19 carries, 102 yards. If you have 2 seniors in the backfield, 2 veterans, I think that you got a really good chance. And I'm going to take Bishop Amat playing at home in this one.
I'm going to agree with you. I will say this, though. Serra has a tendency to play up to the competition and down, so this will be a close game. If Amat thinks it's going to be an easy one, it definitely will not be. It'll be close. Next, Calabasas, a team we talked about a little bit, going to Sierra Canyon.
Yeah, new head coach Chris Claiborne is a defensive player versus former coach Casey Clausen being an offensive guy. You see, they're still winning games just like they were last year. But instead of it being 70-63 against Westlake or whatever the score was last year, 65-63 I think it was 20-14 this year. You're seeing a little bit more defense. That's going to be critical now that they're in league play and trying to face some quality teams. Sierra Canyon is 5-2. Calabasas 5-1. Both teams have won 5 games in a row. Sierra Canyon is coming off a 60-13 thrashing of Crespi, and running back EJ Gable was really good in that one. Sierra Canyon has allowed 14 or less points in 3 straight games. Ben Lee had 11 tackles and 3 sacks in their last game. It's going to be tough for, it's a little bit different offense that they're facing this week. Calabasas, they were a passing attack versus the rushing attack they faced last week. I think I'm going to go with Calabasas here, my number 10 team. That means Sierra Canyon, if they knock them off, they got a chance to move into the rankings.
I'm going to go with Calabasas, too. They've looked really good as of late. Next, a game that, 2 teams I don't think we've talked about yet all season long. It's Alta Loma at Bonita.
Well, we haven't talked about the teams in particular, but we talked about QB JP Andrade from Bonita. He's coming off a game where he threw for 4 touchdowns, 266 yards. They had a big win over Colony last week. I think they keep it going this week. 2 5-1 teams. Big game for Bonita. I think they get this win, and that sets them up for the playoffs.
Go Bearcats. I'm going to go with Bonita as well. Final game, it's a TV game. And I'm glad we're doing this. I'll be at this game. It'll be 7:30 on Prime Ticket. It's not a Trinity League game. It's not what some of the teams that you normally see. It's good for these other schools to get an opportunity to be on TV. It is Culver City traveling to Lawndale.
And some really quality players on both of these teams. The Culver City, the Centaurs, you got to love that. Good nickname there. They got Joshua Ford, who's averaging 11.5 yards per carry, 16 yards a catch, too. He's got 7 touchdowns combined. Chris Miller, their wide receivers, averaging nearly 27 yards a catch. He's got 7 touchdowns. And on the other side, Lawndale has the best player on the field in Jordan Wilmore. He's an absolute stud. The USC running back commit. He scored 5 touchdowns in a game I went to. 2 of them called back. The problem with Lawndale is they get too handsy. They grab too much, and they've had several touchdowns called back this season. So I'm actually going to take Culver City on the road in this one. I think that they have the dynamic playmakers, but I think that they'll have less penalties and can beat Lawndale because one of Lawndale's long touchdowns gets called back.
See what I'm doing here? See this?
It's very handsy.
Being very handsy. I'm going to go with the handsy team then. I'm going to go with Lawndale. I'm very excited to see this game because, again, these are 2 teams I have not seen yet, so it'll be good for me to get there and get a chance to see these guys in first person, including that special running back from Lawndale. Shotgun, anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
I think that's it this week. I'm ready for the action to start.
All right, so until next week.
You to be handsy.
Until next week, I'm Tommy Morrissey, Shotgun Spratling. Keep your hands to yourself and enjoy the football.